It started with a loving wife, a sick husband, and a simple drink. But inside that drink was something deadly. What looked like a tragic medical emergency would soon turn into one of Arizona's most shocking murder cases. This is the story of Wendy and Joe. Joe lived in Arizona with his wife, Wendy. To friends and neighbors, they looked like a normal family. Joe was known as a kind, hardworking man who loved his children. But Joe had a serious problem. He suffered from a terminal heart condition. Doctors had told him that his life expectancy was limited. Joe knew he might not live long, but he still wanted to spend as much time as possible with his family. Wendy seemed like a supportive wife, but behind the scenes, prosecutors later said something very different was happening. As Joe's health declined, the couple began to struggle financially. Bills were piling up, debt was growing, and investigators would later discover something important. Joe had several life insurance policies worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. If Joe died, Wendy would receive the money. At the time, no one suspected anything, but police would later believe that those insurance policies became a deadly motive. One night in year 2000, Wendy made Joe a drink. It looked harmless, just a shake. Joe trusted his wife and drank it, but almost immediately something felt terribly wrong. Joe began vomiting. He struggled to breathe. He felt intense pain. Instead of rushing him to the hospital, Wendy called 911. She told the operator that something was wrong with her husband. When emergency responders arrived, Joe was already in critical condition. Shortly after, Joe died. At first, it seemed like a tragic result of his illness, but the truth was far darker. When investigators began examining the case, they noticed strange details. Joe's symptoms didn't match his heart condition. Something else had caused his sudden collapse. Then came the shocking discovery. Joe had been poisoned. Tests revealed pesticide in his body. This was no natural death. This was murder. Detectives began looking closely at Wendy. They discovered she had been researching poisons and pesticides. Investigators also learned that Joe's life insurance policies could pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the most disturbing detail came later. Prosecutors believed that when the poison did not kill Joe fast enough, Wendy attacked him with a heavy object. Then she called 911 to make it appear like a medical emergency. The case against her grew stronger. Soon, Wendy was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. During the trial, prosecutors described a chilling plan. They argued that Wendy had poisoned her husband for financial gain. They showed evidence of pesticide poisoning. They reviewed the insurance policies, and they described how the crime scene suggested violence. The defense argued that Joe's health problems caused his death, but the jury wasn't convinced. In 2004, Wendy Andreno was found guilty of first-degree murder. The court sentenced Wendy Andreno to death. She was sent to death row in Arizona. For years, she appealed the sentence. Then in 2021, the Arizona Supreme Court overturned her death sentence. But even though the death penalty was removed, Wendy will likely spend the rest of her life in prison. Joe was already fighting a deadly illness, but prosecutors said the person he trusted the most, his own wife, made sure he would never survive. What began as a marriage ended with poison, betrayal, and murder. And it all started with a simple drink.